The rain was pouring down like the sky itself was crying for me that night. I stood on the front porch of what used to be my family home, my clothes soaked through, a single suitcase at my feet. "Get out, Lily. You're 21 now. We don't owe you anything," my Uncle Richard snarled, slamming the door in my face. My parents had died in a car accident just 6 weeks earlier, and in that short time, my relatives had torn my life apart. I was only 21. Mom and Dad were my everything, her gentle voice reading to me at night, his strong hands fixing my bike. The accident happened on a rainy night, much like this one. Their car swerved off the highway and plunged into a ravine. The police called it a tragic accident, faulty brakes, wet roads. I believed them. Until the funeral. Uncle Richard and Aunt Karen arrived with lawyers and fake smiles. They produced documents claiming Dad had massive debts and that the will left everything to them because Lily isn't ready for responsibility. They had already transferred the bank accounts, listed the house for sale, and emptied the safe. I stood there numb while they handed me a single suitcase and told me to leave by midnight. That night, the rain felt personal. Cold droplets slid down my neck as I dragged the suitcase down the street. The wind howled through the empty trees, and every passing car splashed me with dirty water. I found shelter under a bus stop bench, curling into a ball, teeth chattering. My phone was dead. My stomach growled. How did it come to this? I whispered into the darkness. The people who were supposed to love me had thrown me away like trash. Weeks blurred together. I slept in shelters when I could get a bed, otherwise on park benches or behind dumpsters. I washed dishes at a greasy diner for minimum wage, my hands raw and blistered. Every night I replayed the accident in my head, the screech of tires, the silence after. Relatives had spread rumors that I was troubled, so even distant cousins turned their backs. I was completely alone. The kind of alone that makes you question if you're even real anymore. One freezing evening, scrolling through my cracked phone screen in a library, I saw the ad. Fixer. Upper house for $1. Small town revitalization program. Buyer must cover transfer fees and commit to basic repairs. As is condition. As is. The photo showed an old 2-story Victorian with peeling paint and overgrown ivy. It was 200 miles away, but it was a roof. With the $820 I had scraped together from tips and a tiny hidden college fund my parents once gave me, I applied. 3 days later, the papers arrived. The house was mine. The drive there was silent except for the rattling of my borrowed car. When I pulled up, the house looked even worse in person, windows boarded, porch sagging, the air thick with the smell of damp earth and decay. I pushed open the creaky front door and stepped inside. Dust motes danced in the thin beams of light. The floorboards groaned under my sneakers like they were whispering secrets, long buried. That first night, I slept on the bare floor in my sleeping bag, the wind whistling through cracks in the walls. I cried until my eyes were swollen. But at least I wasn't on the street. I started fixing what I could with whatever I found. I patched a leaky roof with plastic sheeting, scrubbed mold from the kitchen walls until my arms ached, and painted over water stains with cheap white paint I bought at a thrift store. The house smelled of old wood and faint lavender, at first maybe from the previous owners. At night, the sounds began. Soft footsteps in the attic, a low scraping behind the walls. I told myself it was rats or the wind. But deep down I felt watched. One afternoon while prying up a loose floorboard in the living room to fix a squeak, I found a small metal box. Inside were yellowed newspaper clippings about my parents' crash, the same ones I had seen online, but with handwritten notes in the margins. Brakes, tampered, check garage footage. My heart pounded. Why were these here? Days later, while scraping old wallpaper in the upstairs hallway, a section of plaster gave way. Behind it was a small, hidden compartment. Inside lay an old USB drive and a sealed envelope addressed to me in my father's handwriting. My hands trembled so badly I almost dropped it. I plugged the drive into my cheap laptop. The video was grainy but clear security camera footage from our old garage. Uncle Richard, 3 days before the crash, leaning over my parents' car in the middle of the night, tools in hand. He cut the brake lines. Slowly, deliberately. The envelope contained a letter. Lily, if you're reading this, we're gone. We suspected Richard was stealing from the company for years. We were about to expose him. This house, the one you just bought for $1, we purchased secretly 2 years ago under a trust in your name. We knew if anything happened to us, he would come for everything. The lawyer friend who listed it cheap was protecting you. Use this evidence. Take back what's yours. We love you. The truth hit me like a second crash. The accident wasn't an accident. It was murder for money. My own uncle had killed my parents so he could steal the inheritance. And this broken-down house wasn't random, it was my parents' final gift. A hidden safety net they had prepared because they saw the betrayal coming. I didn't sleep that night. The wind outside sounded like my mother's voice urging me forward. The next morning, I drove to the nearest police station with the drive and letter. The detective's eyes widened as he watched the footage. Within hours, warrants were issued. Uncle Richard and Aunt Karen were arrested the same day they were trying to cash another forged check. The forged will was exposed as fake. The inheritance, what was left, was returned to me, along with this house that had always been mine. Standing in the now-repaired living room months later, sunlight streaming through clean windows, I ran my fingers along the fresh paint. The lavender scent was stronger now. I planted flowers in the yard just like Mom used to. The creaks in the floorboards no longer scared me. They felt like footsteps of the parents who never really left me. I started a small online business restoring old furniture. And I volunteer at the local shelter, helping girls who have nowhere to go. Sometimes at night I sit on the porch and look at the stars. The rain no longer feels like punishment. It feels like cleansing. I lost my family, but I found something stronger, the truth. A home I built with my own hands, and the knowledge that even in the darkest betrayal, love leaves clues behind. If you're listening to this and you're hurting, remember, the house you think is abandoned might just be waiting to save you. The crash that took everything away might be the very thing that finally sets you free. Thank you for walking this road with me. Your light keeps me going. Standing in the now-repaired living room months later, sunlight streaming through clean windows, I ran my fingers along the fresh paint. The lavender scent was stronger now. I planted flowers in the yard just like Mom used to. The creaks in the floorboards no longer scared me. They felt like footsteps of the parents who never really left me. I started a small online business restoring old furniture, and I volunteer at the local shelter, helping girls who have nowhere to go. Sometimes at night I sit on the porch and look at the stars. The rain no longer feels like punishment. It feels like cleansing. I lost my family, but I found something stronger, the truth. A home I built with my own hands, and the knowledge that even in the darkest betrayal, love leaves clues behind. If you're listening to this and you're hurting, remember, the house you think is abandoned might just be waiting to save you.